Welcome to all of our supporters. This is our new ADRA update through a different format. So you may have seen in the past an ADRA update coming to your email, but now we have started doing a video. And beside me, I have Frank Spangler. And he has been the one responsible for how many years now, Frank?
It's been probably 6 or 7 years that I've been in charge of doing the ADRA update emails. Prior to my arriving to the office at ADRA Canada, I know that it was already in place. I remember for many years getting emails every month from ADRA Canada. So it's been around probably for 10, 15 years, I imagine.
Wow, look at that. Yeah. But now we've switched gears. And what prompted this switch?
It was actually our new boss, Douglas, who suggested the idea. And I think it's great because this gives our supporters an opportunity to actually visualize the projects as we show some. We'll probably have some video clips here and there that illustrate the things that our guests are talking about. We may even show short video segments of some of the things that I've captured in the field. And I think our supporters will appreciate the opportunity to see the projects firsthand through a video format rather than just reading a story online.
Great. So more to see and more to come. You spoke for just a moment about your travels. And I understand you've been traveling for a couple of months.
Yeah,
Give us.
Yeah. I started in Kenya, visited just a heartbreaking place in Kenya, Turkana County. They've had a drought for the last 5 years. And so to visit the homes of the people there was just heartbreaking. And then I went to the Philippines. And what a contrast. It rained every day that I was there. Coming from a place that hadn't rained for 5 years to a place that was raining every day. In fact, the people there in the Philippines were complaining that their vegetables had died in their kitchen garden.
Send the rain from the Philippines.
Yes, it would be nice to do that. Spread it around a little bit. And then from the Philippines, I visited Cambodia to our projects there. And then I visited the country of Niger. Now, that is an interesting contrast as well to Cambodia and the Philippines. It's a more desert area there, but they're also having a lot of issues with security there.
I see.
In fact, some of our schools have had to close because of concerns of security there. You know, it's very close to Nigeria. In fact, they border each other, and you've probably seen on the news terrorists kidnapping school children, especially school girls.
Right.
And so
conflict, a lot of conflict in that area.
Yeah, this is the BRIGHT project, and it's where they do work and focus in on areas of conflict and post-conflict zones. And this is certainly, it falls in that area anyway because of the security issues, the kidnapping issues. And so it was an interesting visit, and I know that our viewers will probably be very interested to see some of the stories that come out of my visit, not only of Niger, but also the Philippines, Cambodia, and Kenya. Some of our Kenya stories have already aired on It Is Written.
Yes.
In fact, by the time you see this, our second installment from the Turkana province will be aired on It Is Written. If you haven't had a chance to see that or you didn't see it, you can always go to It Is Written Canada and watch it online. It's an interesting, both episodes are very interesting to watch.
And where else could they find upcoming videos from your travels?
Yes, we have a number of different video platforms. Of course, we share on Facebook and Instagram, but we also have streaming channels on YouTube and Vimeo. And an interesting thing is that the Vimeo automatically feeds to Roku channel as well as Amazon Fire. And so if you have a smart TV, you can find ADRA Canada on your smart TV on either one of those channels, the Roku or the Amazon Fire. Now, this is different than Amazon Prime, so don't try and find us there. But if you have a smart TV, you can tune in to Amazon Fire and find all of these channels, and one of them is ADRA Canada. You just search for ADRA Canada, and you'll find us there.
Thank you, Frank, very much.
Very nice to be with you on this inaugural episode of the new ADRA update.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Our next guest, I would love to welcome, right from the field herself, our Emergency Management Director, Anita Odondi. Anita, could you please share with us what is happening for the last few months in regard to emergency management in ADRA Canada?
Thank you, Teresa. As you know, unfortunately, disasters and wars are only going to continue. At the moment, we have 4 already countries that are responding on the ground, 4 ADRA offices that are partnering with Adventist institutions and churches and Adventist volunteers and other volunteers to help save lives. As you know, we just recently heard the terrible earthquake in Turkey and Syria that affected hundreds of thousands of people, that flattened buildings. So ADRA is there on the ground. In fact, we have an ADRA Canada staff there helping to respond, to make sure that people that were affected, who lost their loved ones, can survive through this difficult time to the next stage. And then just the other week was the floods in Mozambique, the cyclone in Mozambique and Malawi that are terribly affected. Hundreds of people are affected. Hospitals have been destroyed. Schools have been destroyed. People have died. Entire districts have been destroyed. So ADRA is on the ground there as well, providing food, providing cash vouchers, providing in emergency shelter, so that people are able to somehow have their dignity during this difficult time and to be able to cope with the difficult circumstances. So there's a lot going on, and I'm afraid that it keeps increasing in intensity and frequency.
So Anita, a follow-up question. With so much happening in regard to disasters around the world, how does ADRA keep up?
Thank you, Teresa. ADRA is a blessed network of over 130 countries right now. So when a cyclone Freddy hits Mozambique, and we have maybe 40 or even 80 staff members on the ground to respond, they are not enough to respond to such an immense destruction. So you have countries that surround the neighboring countries, ADRA officers that are already trained to respond to disasters that will come and have such capacity. You have countries as far as Asia, as far as North America, depending on the expertise that is needed and the closeness geographically, they will come in immediately and help. But we don't work only as ADRA. We also have Adventist volunteers that help to build the surge human resource that is needed at that time. So this is how somehow we manage to respond immediately and keep going until people have we assure that lives have been saved, and then move into recovery mode, and then later move into a development phase where we live and people continue their livelihoods as they should.
Thank you so much, Anita, very much for just taking a few moments to talk to our supporters, to our viewers about what is happening and where ADRA Canada is directly active right now around the world connected to disasters. Thank you so much, and we wish you safe travels back home.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
It was so nice to visit with Anita, our Emergency Management Director, and to hear what is happening in her office. But that reminds me of our upcoming special offering on May 13. And yes, it falls on Mother's Day weekend again, and we'll be looking at creating a just world in the realm of disaster and famine relief through the lens of our mothers. And so please, May 13, coming up, a special offering for ADRA connected to specifically disaster and famine relief. So please don't forget to give on that day. My next guest today is Analynn Bruce, and she is our Director of Development Programs. And I have a very basic question for you, Analynn. Can you please tell our audience what exactly is happening in development programs right now?
Thank you very much, Teresa. Thank you for having me here. I'm very excited to share with our supporters that right now we are implementing two of ADRA Canada's biggest programs, and that is what we call the Together Project and the Bright Project. So these are acronyms which are quite long, might be hard to say or to remember. But the Together Project is a project that really helps to minimize or, if at all, avoid gender-based violence, and as well to educate our young women and girls as to their rights, health rights. So that's implemented in Kenya, Uganda, Philippines, and Cambodia. The other big project that we have is an education project. It's called Bright Project. This is very special in the sense that it's a development, transformative type project, but it is in very, very fragile and remote conflict-affected areas in Sudan, in Myanmar, and in Niger. And the aim of this project is to be able to bring back as many out-of-school children, women, boys, and girls back into the education system so that, we are not leaving anyone behind.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Analynn. It's great for us to see how ADRA Canada is working around the globe to touch young people and old people alikes lives, families, right? And so that essence of empowerment that we desire to see, that all may live as God intended. As I understand, you just recently came back from dissemination meetings. What exactly are dissemination meetings, and what took place while you were there?
We are disseminating or sharing lessons from the different project size, because these projects, both Together and the Bright projects, are implemented in a number of countries over a period of time. So, of course, while we have the same objectives in the bigger picture of the Together and Bright project, there are different contexts in each of the countries, and therefore there are different ways to address the problem. So the countries come together during dissemination meeting to talk about what are the challenges that they face in their own context, and then what are the solutions that they are trying to develop to address those. So it's a sharing of the lessons, the challenges, and the solutions that they have come to formulate in their own context. And within that sharing time, that's when you have the richness of the what's really happening, and there's nothing like in-person interactions. We do have Zoom meetings regularly with the various countries, but there's nothing like the personal touch of really talking about how can we do things better. These are the common challenges that we have, and these are the common strengths that we have. Together, how can we pick on everyone's brain so that we can come together with a more solid solution? So that's what dissemination meetings are really for.
So both sets of meetings essentially are meetings that debrief, meetings that reflect, and meetings that hopefully even vision maybe even for the future.
Correct, yeah.
Very
All
good.
those three. Yeah, and especially for the one in Kenya, because it's a new project, that then you have like a clean slate where you can say, okay, these are the possibilities. And it's also a way of revalidating, okay, what were the assumptions at the time of the proposal development? And now, the context has changed. So this is what we need to do. And then this is what we should move forward. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Analynn, for giving us just a little glimpse into what happens in our development programs on a daily basis. So it was really good to see the programs that are being implemented, that are really being focused on. And do you have just any little tiny piece that you could give us of maybe what's coming in the future in development?
Sure. We are developing a number of proposals and concept notes, and some of them have actually been submitted to Global Affairs Canada. And so we are waiting for those. We have development type projects. We have emergency projects that are happening as well. We have what we call in-between projects, like between emergency and development. It is also referred in the industry as nexus type projects, like bridging, coming off of emergency, then you're not really ready yet for bigger development projects, but in between. So we're working on those as well. We never stop in developing, learning from the existing projects that we have, and then building on those, and then trying to replicate those in other areas.
Thank you so much, Analynn, and thank you for your leadership and for your energy and for your passion that you bring to ADRA Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Our next guest is Maxwell Aka, and he is one of ADRA Canada's writers. Max, can you just give us a little glimpse of who Max Aka is? What brought you to ADRA Canada, and what exactly do you do?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Teresa. I've been on board with ADRA Canada since, I want to say, June of 2022, so not quite a year yet, still pretty fresh, still in some ways acclimatizing to things, but enjoying it so far, having a good time. Came on board to be a content writer, first and foremost. I've done a lot of writing work in the past, various things, whether it be, study content for churches, Sabbath schools, that kind of thing. And then, I've just been doing a lot of writing and media. And so my background in media and especially audio meant that it made a lot of sense to add on podcasting. So that's a big part of what I do. Yeah.
Very good. So, Max, there has been a reboot of the Insider Podcast.
Yes.
So can you tell us just a little bit about the journey that's gone through over the last couple of months?
Yeah, sure thing. So the ADRA Insider Podcast had, I guess, kind of the both distinction and challenge of having been very focused on its visual side previously. And a lot of the episodes, in addition to being on streaming services, are also on YouTube. And so it very much had this visual interview format type of thing going on. And what we've done over the last few months is really just focus in on the audio side of podcasting. That just gave us the freedom to really explore creating different kinds of listening experiences for the audience that we have, which is, of course, both existing and potential donors and supporters. So over the last few months, what I've really focused on is trying to make the podcast from an audio standpoint as good of an experience as possible. And you yourself, you've been heavily involved as kind of the primary narrator, primary host of the podcast. But I think the difference now is that we've been able to incorporate things like audio clips from other people who we haven't necessarily interviewed, but have been maybe on the field. We had the situation with Zeni being in Syria when the earthquake hit, and she gave us a little snippet, a little update of what her experience was being there on the ground when the earthquake hit. And having that without having to worry about saying oh, how do we present this visually? Well, no, let's just paint a canvas with sound so that this is, if someone's driving to work, they can listen to this. If someone's on the bus or something, they can sit there and have a full force listening experience that gives them an inside look into what a day in the life as an ADRA employee looks like. And so trying to just find the best way to communicate that in a focused form. Not that what was happening before wasn't focused, but I think streamlining our video stuff to be just video and our audio stuff to be just audio allows each platform, each format to really be itself and really shine. And that's basically what I've been going for with this.
And I've loved working with Max as my producer and just hosting. Yay, from that perspective of, hey, this is what ADRA does. And like you said, we have the opportunity to pull in multiple players, right? and really listen to them from an audio-centric standpoint. So what has been your favorite part as the producer, Max, your favorite part so far of what have we produced? I think 5, 6 episodes?
I think about 5 so far, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we're headed into our 6th one. So what's been your favorite part?
Again, I'm just such an audio nerd that I love crafting a soundscape. And so what's been cool has been taking spoken word and kind of decorating around it, creating a sense of atmosphere, whether that be through sound effects. You know, when Zenny talked about going through the earthquake, I literally put like bass rumble in the audio to kind of simulate the sense of like, yeah, this is what it would be like to be there. Our first episode of this season had kind of an audio drama of sorts where I got to kind of create the sensation of what it would be like being a migrant from Central America trying to walk my way through a jungle and what kind of dangers and hazards there might be. This upcoming episode, because we're doing a highlight on Ukraine, I've got actually a bunch of raw audio from some of the interviews our staff did when they were over there, and we've got one woman who's just volunteered to sing the Ukrainian national anthem and a couple like traditional songs. And so and she did it a cappella, so I'm trying to find ways to bring that into the episode in a way that is kind of, engrossing and very engaging without being over the top and weird. So those types of challenges I think are really fun. And again, it's just making the experience of ADRA and the experience of this international nonprofit work really come alive for our supporters.
Okay, thank you, Max. I love it. All right, just give us a little snippet of what we can expect from the Insider Podcast in the next coming months.
Yeah, so in the next coming months, we've definitely, as I said, got the Ukraine episode coming up, which is going to be a big one. There's a lot of interviews and a lot of stories. So that is going to be kind of like a super episode. And then in some of the coming months, I know I've got a plan to do some questions about maybe the experience of ADRA employees and how working for an NGO and in disaster relief and with these really dire circumstances, how does that affect these people as Christians and their understanding of where they fit between God and these disasters, and what kind of questions are people asking, and how does this kind of work motivate them in their faith, and vice versa, how does their faith motivate their work? So we're going to have questions like that. Towards the summer, I'm planning on having an episode on how our national programs are working with Indigenous communities, and a really big highlight on that. So we've got a lot of different topics coming up, and I'm pretty excited about them all.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Max. And please check out our Insider Podcast. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Podbean. Thanks, Max. See you. Thank you so much for journeying with us through this new ADRA Update video magazine style. Join us each month as we share with you what has happened connected to ADRA Canada for the previous month. We want to thank you so much as our supporters. We appreciate everything that you do. You can find us if you want to look for us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Vimeo. You can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course on our website. So we look forward to seeing you next month right here, same place. Take care.